As many of you know, Tracy and I train hundreds and hundreds of colleagues every year, and we keep hearing the same echo from all of them over and over again. We listen to them, and organized dentistry simply has a choice. Either listen to your remaining members and tackle insurance reform, or continue with platitudes over principles, meaning give the same story every day. We begin our podcast right there.
Welcome, all of you fantastic dental podcast listeners, to the My Practice, My Business Dental Podcast Show, where we help dentists profit and thrive with excerpts from the clinical business of dentistry training here at My Practice, My Business. We'll be addressing and answering questions with current trends dentists and their teams face each and every day in their pursuit of this wonderful career we call dentistry. And now the host of our show, the clinical director and president at My Practice, My Business, Dr. Rob Thorup.
I'm absolutely blown away that the same story continues each and every time we train offices nationwide. Listening to them. I love asking questions and actually listening to their hearts, listening to their concerns, and it still comes right down to the same old thing, insurance reform. And that's where the such a strong disconnect with the ADA and the states. And what I mean is, we're seeing some states, pick up insurance reform like, oh, we got to go after people with insurance reform. We see that all the time. Some of the states that go after insurance reform, they don't teach the dentist how to apply it. They don't teach them how to be effective in the laws and legislation that they train on. We see it in the state of Utah here. We see that, a lot of dentists are being fed misinformation from, unfortunately, leadership here in the UDA, not the new leadership coming up, but the good old boy network. And we're seeing they're going to have to backpedal a little bit and talk about, wow, My Practice, My Business actually are the ones that did the insurance reform laws. They're the ones that wrote them. Tracy has written the majority of them. We got them passed on behalf of dentists in the state of Utah because that's the kind of company and people we are. Insurance reform, and when you're telling a false narrative, it's hard to go back on yourself and say, hey, we want to work with this company. We want to have a relationship with this company when you have not been telling the full truth on who's been doing what when it comes to insurance reform. So, they got a little bit of backpedaling to do. Insurance reform from the ADA should not have started with like the IDA Act or the Docs Act. Hopefully all of you out there are familiar with those. It should have begun with training dentists to play in the PPO sandbox and not just promote the philosophy of drop the insurance plans as the only answer, or you signed a contract, there's nothing we can do about it. The dental insurance war started back in the 80s when dental insurance plans went from indemnity-type plans to preferred provider organization plans. And those PPO plans slowly evolved into controlling reimbursements that have now become either nearly or completely unsustainable to the practice of dentistry. So today I'm joined with my sweetheart, Tracy, again, and I wanted to just get that out there because I'm sure that she's going to have a few comments about the things we're going to be teaching about today.
So I was just thinking as you were saying the last few sentences about how this has gotten to where it is. And I'm pulling back to those insurance companies that didn't cover services, but yet tried to have a limiting language on them, like this is inclusive and not billable, or they would say, well, it's not covered, but you need to drop the fee. Now, we started to see pushback around that time, and it was pretty neat to watch because I believe Washington State was the first one to pass that non-covered law saying no insurance companies, if it's not covered, then you can't regulate the code. Now, other states followed suit, and Oklahoma, I believe, just started something in January next year. They'll have a new non-covered law, which is great. They've joined the pack. But after that non-covered law was passed, the insurance companies came up with other things to do to circumnavigate the non-covered law. And we saw, as they said, well, it is covered, but just not payable and not billable if done on the same day as something else. And instead of pushing back and encouraging states to pass laws to prohibit that from happening or to at least regulate it, it seems like the new leaders at the ADA and associations, local associations, didn't really know what to do, and they backed down. And I've watched as things start to regress and the insurance companies start taking over step by step, nothing has happened.
So, honey, what are you really trying to say?
I think this is a good question. So what I'm trying to say is this. Had we been proactive, had these associations been proactive in pushing back like they did with the non-covered laws across our nation, we wouldn't be in this predicament. But now, because people are so focused on titles and not having the ability to really recognize these patterns of insurance companies stepping forward and getting away with so much, now we're in a position where this is something that is in dire need of it being addressed.
That was because, again, going back, every ADA administration, every ADA leader, every state dental association has said the same thing over and over again. You signed a contract. There's nothing that organized dentistry can do for you. They're all worried about collusion, whatever. This statement has been a false narrative for as long as I've been in practice. And it's why both of us have finally said enough is enough. And it's why the two of us have lobbied written dental insurance reform bills and got them passed into law. It's why Utah leads the nation with dental insurance reform. And yet the ADA has remained silent on what Utah has done, or more specifically, what Tracy and I have done for dentistry here in Utah and in other states. And so I ask the question, why have so many in leadership been cowards? And you and I have seen the cowards in surrounding states. We can list them. Why have so many lacked the guts to pull off what Tracy and I have done here in Utah with dental legislation? Why? Tracy and I have requested changes to the CDT codebook. Again, we talked about it in another podcast. The code changes we requested were, one, add a CO2 laser code to augment the existing CDT code. And what that means is if you own a Solea laser or any hard tissue laser and you use it to do a filling, you should be able to charge for that technology because that technology is way more expensive than a handpiece and oftentimes does a better job. And you don't have to numb the patient more times than not. Some business-challenged individuals will sell this technology on the basis that it's faster than numbing the patient. And when they do that, it drives me nuts because they just want you to have a cattle practice and see more patients. And then completing the procedure, with a handpiece, that's what you do. Therefore, you're buying the laser. When you buy the laser, it'll allow you to see more patients in your schedule, allowing you to work harder, not smarter, cramming the schedule, hopefully to obtain a return on investment. That's one of the dumbest strategies that I've ever heard. We continually witness that from consultants and sales reps. I'm just going to say there's idiots born every day. That's what I have to say to that. Mm-hmm. When in fact, the laser actually gives a patient experience, oftentimes second to none. So that's why we asked for that CO2 laser code to be on there. It's an expensive technology, and you should be able to charge for that technology. The second one was remove bundling language from extractions regarding local anesthetic and suturing. And this one amazes me the most only because the ADA has stated that bundling of procedures is potentially fraudulent. Go figure. Crap like this is one of the reasons membership continues to decline. Dentists aren't stupid. The ADA also states that it's up to the doctor's discretion on how to satisfy the CDT code when coding for procedures. Talk about hypocritical. Talk about an oxymoron. For my office, we charge for both suturing and anesthetic, and we sometimes get paid for both procedures by third-party payers. Again, go figure. And then add local delivery of antimicrobial agent by quadrant. That was the third one we requested, and that would make the placement of local antibiotics congruent with how we bill scaling and root planing by quadrant. And what a concept that is. And remove it at the beginning of each category was number 4. Remove local anesthetic is usually included with the procedures. This one goes back to the year 2000 when dental insurance companies tried to get the ADA to remove both anesthetic codes from the CDT codebook, just like they've done with other CDT codes that have high frequency of usage. And when you remove the codes, third-party payers increase their profit margins because they no longer are obligated to pay for them.
Well, and I have a story on the point above. We had an individual who was in the coding meeting this year, and they reported that the person responsible, or had a good vote in that, for placing that statement at the beginning of the category was really upset and went before everybody and admitted that he should not have voted to have that happen, that statement at the top of the CDT code book. And that person did say, this person, I almost felt bad for him. But I realized that he was responsible for costing these doctors millions and millions of dollars throughout the years.
And I'm happy he admitted what an asshat he was at the time of placing that verbiage into the ADA CDT codebook. But what was even worse is that the ADA did nothing regarding our requested 4 changes. Keep in mind, well, I shouldn't say they did nothing. The first 3, they said no to. The 4th one, they tabled it to 2027, which
another 12 months.
Why?
Why?
So what
they know it was the right thing to do.
So what was the outcome of our code request? Nothing. Zip. No action. Well, at least this year they didn't reject all of them.
But it goes back to the whole meetings to have a meeting, right? I remember when I was in corporate for a little bit. Boy, that was a nightmare. But when I was in corporate, I remember the CEO coming before us saying, why are we having meetings on meetings on meetings? If you see a snake, don't have a meeting on how to kill the snake. Go kill the snake. Get it done. And I think about that.
Good point.
Anyway, is what it is.
I mean, yeah.
I just think about how many meetings they've had talking about problems, and the same with our local association, right? And even on a smaller note, where you have team meetings with your dental practice and you talk about problems. Enough talking. Change needs to happen.
Yeah, you definitely have to have action. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So they shelved it to next year.
We know that dental insurance dominant. It's likened to cancer. Dentist wages have been slowly eaten away with stagnant or decreasing reimbursement rates over the last 20 plus years, and cost of living's gone up. Our wages have gone down due to the ability for dentists to make money, or I should say, due to the inability for dentists to make money. Oh, no, I said it. Make money. What, Rob? You're greedy. You're gouging. You're nickel and diming. But isn't that the goal of any business, to make money? God forbid I even make such a statement, right? I mean, so many dentists think that our company, My Practice, My Business, just teaches dentists to nickel and dime the patient, when in fact we actually teach financial responsibility. We teach contract literacy. We teach dental law mastery, the type of business training that all business owners in dentistry should have, right? And so we still have these asshats here in Utah in the dental networking groups that actually try to make their little pun statements, and all the offices that we have trained, when they see these idiots make statements that they do on the networking groups, it's hilarious, because they're just like, they'll never get it. Yet they'll complain about insurance reimbursement rates continuously, but right in the contracts, it allows you to charge more. But the laws of contracts. Well, first of all, one guy said the laws allow that. The MPMB has passed, allow you to charge additional fees, but I don't do it. Well, first of all, idiot, it's not the laws that have done that. It's actually in your contract. The contract that you think you've mastered, but you've never read. These are the things that, and then dentists wonder why the insurance companies laugh at us. They actually, I'll just go off on a tangent here for a minute. How many times have the insurance reps said that they rely on the stupidity of the average dentist's business literacy?
Oh, all the time.
It's like, that's a cancer. Mm-hmm. It's constant. They rely on the front office team member that's not business trained. That's why they're able to push them around and walk all over them. We have the answers to be profitable PPO plans, but nobody wants to charge the patient more. Again, right in the contracts and state laws, but mostly the contracts, you have the ability to charge your patients additional fees for value-added service, upgrades, all kinds of stuff. And then there's the underutilized CDT codes, honey. The underutilized codes that nobody charges for. And most dentists, and it comes down to, sorry, my brain's flipping back and forth here, comes down to sustainability. And nobody wants to be sustainable if they have to charge their patient additional fees. They think the insurance company should pay for everything. But let's just be honest. The premiums that are paid by all the insurance companies cannot pay what we should be reimbursed, but the insurance companies allow us the ability, at least in most states, the ability to be sustainable. In fact, most dentists can't even afford to pay their dental teams a livable wage. Think about that for a minute. Most dentists complain about dental insurance reimbursements and believe the evil dental plan should pay more. And most dentists have no ethical problem charging their self-pay patients their fee-for-service fees, yet if a company like My Practice, My Business teaches them to obtain practice sustainability through the dental insurance contracts that they sign, through that contract literacy and ethical billing transparency by understanding the laws, they think that such methodologies are wrong. They bitch and complain about practice profitability all the time, but they choose to do nothing about it or have a holier-than-thou attitude of, well, we know we can do it, it's legal, but we don't do that. This lack of thought leadership is so unbelievable to me.
Well, and I'm thinking actually about something that we talked about earlier today, which is, I want to talk about a typical dental office that's not trained with us, where the doctor's struggling with all the write-offs, the low reimbursement, not billing correctly. By the way, the ADA says to code for what you do, regardless of reimbursement.
Wait, the ADA Code of Ethics says to do what?
Code for what you do.
Wow, what a concept. So let me ask this question. Wait a minute. So the self-righteous people out there who don't want to charge their patient anymore,
they're actually going against
you're saying
the
they're
code of
actually
ethics.
Being unethical by going against the Code of Ethics.
Exactly.
God,
well,
I just shake my head
all
day.
This is where I'm going to take it a step further. So you're in a situation where you're in the red. You have to cram the schedule in order to be profitable. So you're cramming your schedule, you're overworking your team, you're stressed out. And then your leadership with your state association tells you, you know what, you should do a good thing and you should join Medicaid. This is the kind of stuff that just kills me. You've got a doctor
who's top now. Now you're.
And I'm sorry. This is something that bothers the crap out of me because you're already not profitable, and here you're being lectured by your association saying that you need to do even better. Not only are you
need to do your civic duty. You need to accept those Medicaid patients.
And I was looking at the reimbursement rates. Number one, they're not all that great compared to an average insurance company. And secondly, because it's federal, they don't have to listen to state laws. They're going to turn around and they're going to force you to write off half the stuff you do. So no, I'm not going to. And you know what?
We would actually take Medicaid if they followed state law.
If they followed in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
If I trusted the people who ran Medicaid in our state, that they wouldn't do something horrible, then I would be fine with it. And you know why we would be fine with joining Medicaid? Now, this would be a lower fee. Why do you think I would be 100% good with taking Medicaid patients?
I don't know. You're scaring me right now.
Because we're profitable.
Oh, okay.
That's not too bad, huh? But here's the thing. I want to help people, but I'm unable to take Medicaid if I am not profitable in my practice. It can't work that way. And so, again, I think that these association leaders are pushing these offices to go further and further into debt, so to speak, because they don't understand the basics, which is contract literacy and state law knowledge. They don't know how to run their business.
So this cancer that we call dental insurance has been eroding oral health care for years. Mm-hmm. And the ADA has taken... the ADA is going to say, oh, no, look what we've done for insurance reform.
Let's see.
But yeah, let's see. The Docs Act, how many millions and how many years?
And
nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Yeah. So the ADA has taken a back seat on this for what, 30 years? I'm going to come out again and say, why did they not read the contracts, find the loopholes so that we could play in the sandbox like we've done? And it's not just loopholes. They're not loopholes. They're actually in the contract, and they state what you could do. So here comes you and I, and we knock it out of the park with dental legislation in Utah and teaching dental contract knowledge. And we have radiated the cancer, in my opinion, and we're slowly cutting it out, or at least helping keep it in check. And where have the doctors of the Dental Association been, the leadership? Claiming legislative wins, yet none of those wins have been worth reporting. Having said that, maybe they just might pull one off in the near future.
With that IDA Act.
Yeah, the ADA is involved with the IDA Act now, which is a variation of the Docs Act. And it's called the Improving Dental Administration Act, so IDA, which would force federal and self-funded plans to follow state statute. What a wonderful thing that would actually be. The IDA Act is House Resolution 7931. I want everybody hopefully to follow that. And it was introduced in March 2026 of this year, and it's a federal bill supported by the ADA to close a loophole. I say the word loophole again, in the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. That's also called ERISA. So the bill would stop carriers from using ERISA preemption to avoid complying with state-mandated consumer protections, and it would ensure consistent regulations across all dental plans. That IDA Act would be a fantastic win for the ADA and one that I would shout from the rooftops. But how many millions, did they spend on the Docs Act, which is similar to the IDA Act, and they got nothing out of it? So hopefully the IDA Act will be different. But I'm not holding my breath because, we'll see how the insurance lobby does against it.
Yeah. And ultimately, just last week, you all, if you do belong to the American Dental Association, you received a letter from them saying, please send a letter to your local representatives so that they can go in and vote in that favor. I know that we signed something last week going after Burgess Owens saying, hey, we want this law to pass. Please support it. So it's super cool. What we ultimately have to realize is, I'm just thinking about my homework that I need to do. I have a 140-something page document to look over from 2022, talking about all the different things that ERISA plans have done and all the lawsuits against them and how they got away with it and deemer clauses and all the fun stuff. But the bottom line with us is because we're not holding our breath, we're trying to figure out what we can do on a state level to protect us against these insurance companies that claim to be ERISA and they're not.
When we talk to our rep who's part of NCOIL, right? He might even be over NCOIL here next year. Soon. That's the National Coalition of Insurance Legislators. That's what NCOIL stands for. Didn't Oklahoma pass a law that federal plans had to follow state statute, but then it was overturned?
Yep, that was
so they weren't successful. So we actually tried to pass a law this year that stated that we had the option to opt out, actually opt in, but basically it's an opt out of federal plans. So if Blue Cross signs me up for their commercial plan and they include all their federal plans, I could just check the boxes of the ones that I wanted to play in.
Well, one of you, if one of you is listening that has a little bit more insight into this is, I think, still a strong angle. So there's a preemption clause, and I do need to read more about this, but ultimately they're saying, well, you already signed the contract and ERISAs were involved, and so you can't just opt out now because of the preemption clause, which, again, I need to read into. But ultimately, my agreement with an insurance company is with the commercial plan, not with the ERISA plan. It's with the commercial plan. And so therefore, the commercial plan should give me the option to opt in or opt out of that ERISA plan. That's the concept behind what we're trying to do.
Just like network leasing.
Yeah.
Or
just like joining an HMO or a PPO.
Yeah. So they're actually forcing us to be providers. That's just, but man, you should have seen the guns come out after us when we tried to pass that this year in Utah.
It really was.
But I'm not so sure we can't win that.
But here's the thing. Because they showed up in force, that usually means they're scared.
Means that we're on the right track.
Again, if somebody has some insight on this, I think it would be pretty powerful to figure out whether or not we can address this on a state level while we wait for the federal level ADA stuff to happen.
Again, if the ADA passes the IDA Act, every dentist in the United States, especially dentists that take PPO plans, you should be a member. End of story. If they pass that, that is a power play that I will give kudos to the ADA for, till the day I die and into the next life. So, but dental insurance reform, or the lack of it, that's the number one reason dentists have left the national and state dental associations. So Will the ADA have the guts to eradicate the dental insurance cancer and cause it to be cut out or at least controlled? Or will the third-party cancer continue to thrive in the dental industry? I don't know. This cancer has eaten away at our profit margins for way too long. And we are at a pivot point where either the ADA and state dental associations are going to stop being fragmented and treat this cancer, or it's going to drag organized dentistry membership down to levels of the American Medical Association membership ranks, sitting right at, 12, 14%. Sweetheart, you and I have discovered a way to be profitable with dental insurance cancer. We've learned how to keep it in check and have a thriving dental practice while taking over 25, 26 PPO dental plans. Unfortunately, very few dentists know how this is done, or they have business philosophies that aren't grounded in business and they don't want to learn. Because why? I get it. You can't fix stupid. So why? That's a great question. In our own state dental association, leadership continues to avoid joining forces with us here at My Practice, My Business. Instead, they promote, well, drop the plans or drop the lowest plans, that kind of ideology, that's what they have, when we've figured out how to live with them profitably. And what's even stranger is that they receive directives from the ADA to find additional sources of income that are non-member related. And we here at MPMB have that answer, yet they don't want a business partnership due to really dumb reasons, which we'll just call the good old boy network. And Tracy and I, we sit here and we want to help. We want to help. We want to help the dentists in every state, but it's like drives us nuts when, being a prophet in your own country, people just like, oh no, we can't possibly do that. Just do good dentistry. The money will follow.
Well, and I think that it's been really fun to watch. Those leaders are either leaving or they're going to eventually, because we're watching.
Because they're getting older. Certain
people are taking over, and those business savvy dentists that realize what's going on and they've got it down. Those are the ones that actually do support us. And so it's been pretty fun to watch.
They here in our own state, they say that when they mention My Practice, My Business to some of the dentists in Utah, they tune us out. They tune out the leadership of the UDA. And my friends in the UDA and other state associations and the ADA, when I have to just say it, when we mention the need to have membership in dental associations to our clients who are not members, they tune Tracy and I out.
They say, why would I join an association? What have they done for me?
What happened when you were lecturing at UDA convention, how many years ago? What that guy stood up?
That was back with the bundling law, which, by the way, those of you listening nationwide, the state of Utah has a bundling law. So the insurance companies can bundle services that are covered, but they cannot force us in our state to write that service off. So gingivectomies with crowns, pulp caps with fillings, any of that stuff. If we did it, we can prove the need for treatment. We get paid for it. So we were talking about this new law that we passed, and it was a big law, the first in the nation. And a gentleman towards the end raised his hand and stood up and said, so if you guys are the ones passing this
Tracy
law,
and I here at My Practice, My Business,
why am I an association leader? Why are they not the ones actively doing these things? And of course, I was trying to do everything I could to talk about all the different things that the association was doing for them. I never want to be the person to push back and say, oh my goodness, don't join them. I think that organized dentistry has so much great potential. But it did make me wonder, why is it that they keep saying you signed a contract? What are they doing?
We defend the associations to a fault.
We do.
And here in Utah, we have it better than, I'll just say the Utah Dental Association has it better than any other association that we've come across when we've been training dentists. And how many states are we in now?
Like
25, 35,
25,
right?
35. I mean, I even have one state where the association leader didn't know the difference between regional block and local. It was pretty embarrassing. So
and they,
don't worry, we're good in our state.
Yeah, we're safe. And what's really funny is here we have the answers. Why can't the association, our own association, let alone others, why can't you actually understand our training? Why don't you really take the time to fully understand our training and do what we do for you. Those dentists who have self-promoted ideologies of what they think our business training is all about have never been through our training. And so they sit there and talk about, they just charge the patient more money. Damn right we do, according to the contracts and state laws, because you're not sustainable with the procedures you do. So why would you let the egos of a few of the Good Old Boy Network control the ability of your association to actually partner with our company, use us as a financial resource and something that benefits the dentists you are supposed to serve? Why don't you let us apply the cure of the cancer that dental insurance plans have imposed on dentists in our state and nationwide? This is what, in my opinion, but this is pretty evident, this is what ineffective leadership exemplifies. And we train on leadership. And why don't you just take the leadership role? I mean, membership, they're so afraid. Some people are so afraid to engage our company in Utah and surrounding states and other states back east. They're so afraid to engage our company that because they have their ideologies, because we think outside the box, and yet we're the ones that are passing the laws. We're the ones that insurance reps will actually come into our training from insurance plans here in Utah. They will literally answer questions to our attendees, and they endorse what we teach. What is your problem? Well, so you want to talk about leadership being effective or ineffective? And they wonder why, honey, membership continues to drop and why non-members are not returning anytime soon. And I want to add one more thing. We were once half owned by the ADA, and we are no longer half owned by the ADA for many reasons. And yet the executive director a couple of years ago apologized to us for that mishap that the ADA did, not us, and which I won't go into detail here. But he asked us to create a training, a light training of what we did for dentists nationwide. And here we sit, because he got pushed out for whatever reason from the ADA.
Because he challenged the status quo.
That's our opinion, but maybe there's more to the story that we don't know. But he definitely challenged the status quo. He's definitely a northbound train.
We got to see it.
And anyway, that's we stand ready to help. We're going to continue to help. We don't care how many arrows are thrown in our back. We don't care how many of the Good Old Boy Network dentists sit there and promote their ideologies of just, if you do good dentistry, money will follow, because that ideology flew out the coop 20 years ago. And as I stated at the beginning, organized dentistry has a choice. Either listen to your remaining members and tackle insurance reform, which will help membership grow, or continue with your platitudes over principles. Continue with your same talking points of what the association does over principles of what they need to be doing. And I'll add one more choice you can have, and that is to interview our clients here at My Practice, My Business and ask them if our training has been life-changing or a waste of their money and time. And maybe you're just afraid of the answer, or just like you're afraid of CDT code changes that improve the sustainability of the members you're supposed to serve. Because Tracy and I, right here, we're on the front lines of doing the things the Dental Association should have done years ago. Years ago, they should have learned how to play in the PPO sandbox better with their contracts. They should have done what optometry did when it came out at the same time dentistry did, and had optometrists upgrade all the time for sustainability. That's why in the insurance contracts, it states that insurance plans reimburse for the least expensive professionally accepted treatment. Yet nobody knows about that. And some dentists don't even understand what that means, which is crazy. Okay?
And by the way, the state of Utah defined it.
Oh, baby.
Oh, that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. You want to mention that now, or you want to
No,
wait? Okay.
we're gonna let you hold on a little bit to hear the definition. It's been pretty fun.
Our association should have done this a long time ago, because we have spent our own income to make those changes happen, and because we are simply doers and not just talkers. We absolutely have the right to call bullshit when we see it. And we are calling it now. Do you have anything to add to that?
I want to put a big exclamation mark next to that whole thing, because you're absolutely right. Time's due for a change. Let's do it.
Hey, thanks for listening today. We hope you call your association, call your presidents in your districts.
Join your district. Join your association. Be a leader.
Be a leader, not a follower. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for being with us today. Since 2006, My Practice, My Business has been teaching dentists and their teams business skills, dental insurance contractual protocols, and state laws governing how to profitably bill patients fairly for the need-based services they provide. What's more, we guarantee our training, unlike other dental consulting companies in the industry. Simply stated, if you don't increase your net revenue, we don't get paid. We call it dental consulting the way it should be. We believe there has never been a more important time than now for dentists to experience and implement our key methods, knowledge, and business training within their dental practices. To learn more about our guaranteed, no-risk clinical business of dentistry training that is changing dental practices for the better, just go to our website, mypracticemybusiness.com, and surf our pages for additional information about our company and the services we provide. When you're ready, give us a call and get scheduled for the most profitable dental business training that you will ever experience. If you enjoyed our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us. Thank you again and have a fantastic day.